Started. Righty, there we go. So welcome everybody for this information session and fireside chat about the TransformLaw KWM Prize. There's going to be a very informal session. As you could see, we're chatting away already. But the point is to provide you with the insight and with the understanding about what the challenge is, and get some, I would say, insight and advice as well from the team, or the winning team from last year. So hooray! Just as to, I would say, how to make the most of it, and hopefully get on to be some of the winning teams as well this year. So we're welcoming people that you will see on your screen. I'll start with Rachel Dag, who's the Chief Student Entrepreneur, among many other things, with UK Ventures. Part of the team I've seen so far, Richard, Rolf, Mitri, and I think we were mentioning some additional member will join us in a minute. And we have Ryan Catterwell from the law school as well, who will tell us a bit more about the challenge itself. So that's going to be about it from me. I'm not going to bother you more than that. I've spoken enough already, especially with my bad French accent. So I'll leave it to these guys. And I think, Rachel, if you want to actually get started, you're very welcome. Take it from here.
Hey,
Yes.
Sam. Hey, Rachel. I think I'll take it. I'll take the first part, I think, from here. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tomas. I'm running the KWM Prize. So just so that if you have any questions, please ask the team first. But then any sort of operational stuff. So how do I sign up? What does it entail? And all the sort of operational things. Please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to answer those things. So we thought we could kick this off having a quick conversation with Ryan. Mostly because Ryan was part of this program from the very first conversations, and then the ventures team and myself, we got brought in a few emails into it, I think. Hey Ryan, thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here virtually.
Virtually, yes. I'm really curious, and I wonder if you would like to share a little bit how and why did the School of Law start this, and who's got KWM as well, in case people don't know, and why do you think this is a worthwhile program that we're running? Especially because we are sort of the entrepreneurship part, but from your perspective as a lawyer and also as a professor in the School of Law.
Well, not quite a professor yet, but thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
A lecturer.
So I mean, the nexus between sort of the practice of law and technology is something that's very interesting for me. It's of great interest to the profession, and I'm sure it's of great interest to a lot of law students who are thinking about, you hear all the time, oh, machines are going to take all lawyers' jobs and things like that. And I think the interesting thing about this competition, and it's sort of like really a course that you go through where you think about how you could put together some sort of automated legal service. And the law firms are thinking about this a lot. The community outreach sort of access to justice organizations are thinking about it a lot. So it's a very hot button sort of topic in industry. But the reason we sort of came up with it is Patrick obviously arrived as the new dean, and he was very keen to expand sort of our law and technology our work. And I obviously I research a fair bit, exploring sort of the extent to which we can automate sort of legal reasoning. And that's sort of where I came in. And then we were looking around at all the other sort of offerings at different universities. You've probably heard about the hackathons. Other universities and organizations have these hackathons where you come along for a day or two, and you within a day or two come up with the idea or the technological application, that use of technology in the legal sphere. And we looked at that, and that's just a very dense time period, right? And you're often, I think, in that sort of arena, you're relying heavily on the mentor that you have to really structure and guide the process. Here, we want to put it more onto you. We give you more time. We give you the wonderful resources of Thomas, and it's still the Ideas Hub. Is that right, Thomas?
It's Ventures.
Ventures. Sorry, Ventures. So it's actually a course where it's not simply yes, there is a massive prize. There is a massive prize, and I'll come to KWM in a moment, and there is a massive prize, and that's great. But what you also get out of it is you will be able to, meet up with, collaborate with, and network with, as a law student, students from other disciplines, which is what you need to do, right? You might have a law student, you might have a computer science student, you might have a business student. So you're all getting together, and the law student's thinking about, okay, how can we use technology to make some area of law more accessible or more efficient? And then the business student's thinking, oh, well, that's a good idea, but how's it actually going to work? How are we going to put it together? And then the computer science student puts their hand up and says, hang on, we can only do X, Y, Z, okay? So it's a unique synergy between students from different disciplines, right? Which is what the law firms are doing and what the industry participants are doing. They're getting people from different disciplines to think about how legal services, legal work, to put it crudely, can be automated. So the good thing about this program and this competition is that we get you all together, you interact, you network, you form relationships, you form teams with people from different areas of the university. And then you go through this course of several weeks where you actually engage in design thinking. You come up with the idea. You realize, okay, actually we can't do X, Y, Z through technology. Machine learning is great, but we can't do everything with it. And you start to come up with an idea that's practical, it's from a computer science or technology perspective, has a legal point to it, and then has a business side to it that will work. All right, and so yes, the prize is great, a lot of cash, but there is a learning process that you go through, which I think is invaluable if you wanted to go out and try and start something yourself. The law firms are spending lots of money on this stuff. So, to the extent to which you can make yourself appeal in that regard, I can't see that that's a bad thing. It has to be a good thing. So that's sort of the idea of, for me, the competition, why we put it together, sort of like this course almost with the competition, with the prize component. You put together this idea, collaborating with other students. You then pitch it for the money, and it might lead to some project that you actually go on to explore. Now, KWM is a large multinational law firm. Just full disclosure, I'm employed by KWM as a solicitor on a casual basis, but this prize really comes through Patrick as the Dean discussing with the innovation arm of KWM sort of whether they would want to be involved with this project and obviously donate the money. So they're a large multinational law firm, obviously doing a lot in the innovation space, as are the other law firms. And they're obviously keen to be involved with a project like this, because a project like this is encouraging students to think about law and how we can use technology in a multidisciplinary way and in a sort of design thinking way where you actually step through it critically to try to come to a product or something that can work and is valuable. Sorry, I didn't really prepare any of that, so I hope that made sense. Sorry if I was jumping around a bit.
No, I think it made a lot of sense. I think something that you sort of touched on, but it's really important for us as we run the program, is that you are acquiring a mindset and skills. So it's about the collaboration and the interactions, but it's also about getting some of that entrepreneurial mindset and taking that into sort of the law practice or your practice as a law or law student, and what does that look like? And this can be creating a new company, or might be working within your own practice or working within an existing law firm. but it's taking that adaptability and that resilience in that empathizing these tools that we go through in the design thinking process that that I think are really, really important and really interesting. I think the world in the future needs more and more of this collaboration and interaction and sort of
yes, yes, because
interdisciplinary.
I think sometimes the computer scientists on their own will think, oh yeah, we can automate all the things that the lawyers do. And then the lawyers are like, no, you can't automate all that we do. And you really need to get them together. And then you also need the business people there to think about, does it really matter whether we can automate what you do? So, there's sort of, you really do need a synergy, and it is a great program because it gets you together. And I attended quite a few, almost all of the sessions last year. I learned quite a few things during the process because it really, as you point out, Thomas, there's an entrepreneurial sort of focus that is unique, and unless you've been in a business school or sort of something, you won't get it as a law student. So there's a lot to be said for the course from a variety of angles.
So before we jump on to Rachel and the winning team from last year, which is really the focus of this talk, we want to hear from them. I'm curious to get Ryan sort of because you were there in some sessions, you were there in the sort of inception, and when we started to talk about it, and you see it all the way through. You saw it all the way through. So your perspective as a sort of like as a lawyer, as a practicing lawyer, also as part of the school, I think you have a great sort of breadth of multiple hats in what a lawyer can do. What is your take on what happened last year and the outcomes
yes,
of the program?
I think everyone was really impressed. All of the teams that pitched on that final night, I think they all had put together some quite impressive projects, and you could see, I could see because I was there week 1 and sort of week 2, and I saw the ideas evolve into what they became at the presentations. So the law school's very happy with the project, very happy to see it grow as it will over the course of the next few years. Very excited to see what students can come up with in this year's edition of the competition, as I'm sure KWM is too. So it's just one of excitement to see what we can come up with. I find it very interesting because I have a personal interest in the extent to which we can use technology, the extent to which we can actually use it to develop automated sort of systems whereby services previously provided by a lawyer are now provided in some different way, and there's a cost saving, and there's whether it be a benefit to an access to justice program or a benefit potentially to a commercial entity. I find it very interesting to see the things that you come up with, and there's a creative part to the workshop where you've got the problem and you're trying to think of solutions to it. And I was doing it myself and just thinking, wow, it's sort of with the post-it notes. Do you remember that, Thomas? Yeah, with the post-it notes, and that sort of it's quite an interesting process to go through in terms of evolving an idea and just seeing what you can actually do in terms of putting forward some sort of technological solution to it.
Yeah, so in case this has not been made clear yet, the big focus of the program is to bring technology into the practice of law and explore how we can include both components to create different outcomes, whether it's to improve the practice of already existing firms, to creating disruption outside of the firms, or to improve the access to law. We had a whole breadth. I think that was something cool last year. Is we had a whole breadth of different type of solutions, from some teams trying to make firms more efficient in how they calculate their costs, to teams improving how normal everyday people can access
law or legal
advice, or even the language of it. And we will hear from Team Minerva later. But and that's just fantastic, and that's the nature of the program. You can work on your projects, and it is part of the entrepreneurial mindset that you start to see where are the problems or the aspects where you can be innovative and disruptive, right? And the law, I'm not a lawyer. I luckily have not had to deal with a lot of lawyers in my life, although my best friends are lawyers. But I think it's an industry that's ready to be disrupted, right? These very old industries like the banking industry, from an entrepreneurial point of view, they have these very established processes, and it's been done a certain way for many, many hundreds of years. So it's ready there to be disrupted with different creative thinking, and that's why we use design thinking as well.
Yeah, there's definitely scope to explore ways we can provide services or make services more efficient, legal services, that is, through the use of technology. And I think you've got to think realistically about what the technology does and what technology you can use and how you can use it. That's my little bit on it.
That's a really good point also. So the applications, Rachel will talk a little bit about when applications close. We still have a few months. So you will get more information about it. Stay tuned to sort of the websites and the emails you'll be getting from the School of Law and through our ventures channels. So without further ado, I think I'd like Rachel take it on from here, and let's hear from the team. Thank you, Ryan, for those inputs and the stories.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Good luck.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. So hi, everyone. I am the Chief Student Entrepreneur. And for those of you that don't really know what that is, I am involved in the Ventures team as a student representative and really a student voice to entrepreneurship at UQ. So that means I partake in co-evolving our entrepreneurship programs for you guys as students. So with us today, we have the winning team from last year's KWM TransformLaw Prize, Amy, Richard, Mitri, and Alwyn from the Just AI team. Thanks, guys, for popping on today. So just to kick off, with a background from you guys, what is your innovative idea that got you the winning place?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So Amy, Alwyn, and myself, as law students, have sort of been active in doing pro bono work and just working in the community sector more broadly. So we approached the competition wanting to create a solution that would address an access to justice issue. So sort of the main issue that we were trying to solve was the difficulty in finding legal information for people who don't have legal education. There are many plain language legal resources available online. They're generally prepared by community legal centers and legal aid, but they're still difficult to navigate. Existing search functions, they're very keyword reliant, and as such, it's very hard to find the right information if you don't know the terminology. And a secondary issue that we noticed from our shared experience is that a lot of appointments being made at CLCs were for very straightforward matters with clients who could help themselves if they had the right information. So our proposal was for a search engine capable of taking a natural language query and using it to search for relevant legal information. So using the tool, people could enter their questions or their queries using words that they understand and still be able to find the right legal information. So the main benefits that would come from a solution like this are sort of twofold. The main one being that people would be able to access the right information more easily, but also that it would free up the resources of CLCs so they could help more vulnerable people or focus on more pressing matters.
Great. So you guys are all from different academic backgrounds. I can see you're from arts, law, commerce, tech. What advice would you give a student coming from a degree that wasn't in the law or technology space?
Entrepreneurial activities require a large range of skills and knowledge to achieve effective results. A degree in law or technology does not confer some implicit technical skills and knowledge, but they can often be used to overcome any issues. And with a balanced team and utilizing mentors or consulting with subject matter experts, you can overcome those deficiencies. Technical skills such as machine learning, AI, programming, etc., can often be very quickly acquired through online courses, self-study, or YouTube. At the end of the day, a degree is just a piece of paper. It doesn't define who you are and what you are able to achieve in this program.
That was very eloquently put, Richard. Thank you very much. I like this question because I was going to enter the competition last year, and then I backed out because I'm a health science student. I didn't really think I could add much value into the space. But then reconsidering, you know, health law is such a huge issue, and I feel like I could have added a lot of colour into that space. So for those students that are thinking, you know, oh, I'm in an arts degree, or, you know, agriculture, or anything that's like a little bit different, like Richard said, it's about, you know, it's your personality and who you are, and it's not just a piece of paper that defines your skills. So thank you for that. And on sort of that topic, what are the useful skills to have on the team in this challenge?
Yes, to kind of drawing on what Richard said about, you know, individual personality, I think, yeah, the most important thing for us was being personable, because you are going to be together as a team for the entire semester. If you are a pre-made team, that's even better because you already know each other, you know how each other works, but there is a chance that you might need to, you know, get other people in for your idea. So because you are going to be together for such a long time, and this is quite an involved process, you do need to get to know your teammates quite well. What we did was we just made a Facebook group chat, but we didn't really make it strictly about just competition announcements. We just sent memes to each other. We talked, whatever, just get to know each other as people. And then I think you'll get to really see the difference between the teams that know each other as people versus those who just talk during the sessions. Yeah, you'll see like there's a much stronger link between the people. They can kind of communicate faster with each other as well. And, you know, faster communication means faster iteration. Faster iteration means better designs.
Yeah.
Something else, I think active listening is pretty important. You need to be able to, you know, listen to what your teammates say, take it into account, be ready to contribute wherever you can, you know, especially if it's a topic that you're familiar with. And then, yeah, a big part of the program, I guess, is making a prototype, something you can show during your presentation. So if you can, some sort of prototyping skills would be very useful. I think, yeah, you have like the entire semester to work on it. So it's not like you're going to rush all this at the end if you plan this out. So yeah, because you are going to be combining law and technology, yeah, you'd be really well off thinking about how you can show your idea virtually in a prototype, and you can, you know, do a voiceover on that as you're doing your final presentation. And this last one, I guess, yeah, you really need to do market research. I really wouldn't recommend coming into this with an answer, looking for a problem. Yeah, I think you need real market research either first or secondhand to really inform whether your design is desired by people. And yeah, those designs I think are the ones that will actually, you know, seem compelling to people. So yeah.
So you guys knew each other before you started the challenge, is that correct?
So me, Maitri, and Aimee knew each other because we're all law students. And then, yeah, we met up with Richard like a week or so before the real competition, but then we really talked about being a group together on the first night during the networking session, and then it all went from there.
So if I was a student and I didn't have a team, what would be your tips for teaming up?
The first question you need to ask yourself is, do you have an idea, or are you willing to support another idea with the same amount of passion and interest? If you have your own idea, the options are to start your own team or to convince another team how great your idea is and that they should follow you. If you do not have your own idea, you should speak to all the other teams and weigh up how well those ideas resonate with your own motives and interests. The most important thing when considering a pro bono project is whether you have the passion and drive to give your best, even if there is no possibility of a fiscal reward. Ultimately, when you're deciding to work on something, don't think about the reward at the end, because there's a very good chance you're not going to win. So make sure that you have a deep passion and interest in whatever you're working with. Otherwise, it's just going to fizzle out into nothing.
So you touched on this before, but it's okay if you come into this program and you have no idea. You just want to be a part of this and you want to learn. Like you guys think that that's fine?
Definitely. I think I'll just take, sorry. So on a more practical note, I think just showing up on the first night, the date night is really important. Even if you don't have an idea, just show up and have a chat to everyone. And like Richard said, if an idea resonates with you, then just see if you can join that team. Like back to what Alwyn said, it is really just the team that you're working with, less than the idea in a bit. Like you just need to work with people that you share values with and you sort of agree with their thoughts.
So you just touched on the first night. What does that format look like in terms of networking and meeting other students?
So just all the students will show up, and I think if I remember correctly, some of the mentors also showed up as well. I know our dean, Patrick, also showed up as well. You just sit as a group, and you can, if you have an idea already, you just raise it with the entire group. If not, you can sit and listen to everyone else. Then you can get up and just have a chat with people about what your background is, what your interest in this competition is, what you'd like to get out of it, what sort of projects may interest you. And it's just really sort of a getting to know everyone.
So you guys made friends, outside of this program?
Yeah, definitely. I think, there's a lot of shared sort of interests in people that come to the same project. So there's a few people that I still, chat with regularly who I just met through the program, but they weren't part of my team. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So what are the skills that you're now using that you learned from the program? And what exactly did you guys take from the program in terms of developing your own skill sets?
I think it was, it was such a learning experience for us. I've never really been involved in a competition like this, so I learned a lot personally. Some of the main skills that come to mind though were teamwork, collaboration, communication, and problem solving. I think those four together is what I took out of the program, because we had to constantly bounce ideas off each other, figure out, is it practical, is it useful, is it workable, communicate and make sure we were on the same page. And yeah, I think it was really important that we had that teamwork and collaboration, and that's probably what I took out of it the most.
Yeah, so it's developing those soft skills that really, as students, we can take into the real world, regardless of where we go with this particular program. Teamwork and problem solving, they're excellent skills to be developing while you're in university that your degree doesn't teach you. So that's excellent. And in terms of developing these skills, what was your experience working with a mentor? And I know that Ryan is here, so you can be honest, but not too honest.
So working with the mentors, I found the best part of that was that we had a variety of mentors with differing viewpoints who could kind of assess our ideas and provide all these different opinions, so we could really think about our actual idea or our solution and make sure it's something that lines up with what we want to achieve. And by having those mentors there to bounce ideas and kind of really get their opinions, we had a real good chance to critically analyze our problem and our solution and make sure that what we had come up with was something that's actually necessary, and whether it's a real issue in the industry or that kind of thing. So I think it was mainly just having that insight outside of the group and from a professional standard was what was really helpful with the mentors.
And did the mentors sort of challenge you guys in the sense that maybe you guys came up against a roadblock or something? And how?
I think every week, basically,
yeah,
we were coming up and we were like, oh, so we had this real breakthrough, we thought of this amazing thing, and then they'll kind of stop us there and go, oh, but is it really going to work? Think about it. And we were just kind of like, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't such a great idea. And then we had to kind of reassess again. And then, so I think that's what was good by having that kind of input. That really made us think about, is this a good solution for the problem where we've identified?
Yeah, and it's difficult, you come up with a solution and everyone's gung-ho on it, and someone challenges it, and it's like, hearing that Santa Claus isn't real anymore. And you're
Yeah,
like,
literally, yeah, that's how it was, but it was good.
yeah, definitely. And so students, you should know that you could be mentored in this program by CEOs, startup founders, directors, and Ryan. So, you know, what an excellent opportunity to network and learn from really incredible people in their field. And so what exactly was the time commitment for you guys during this program?
The time commitment can vary depending on the project and the passion of the team. If the idea or project is small or poorly developed, a bare minimum of 2 hours a week may be sufficient. However, if the team is shooting for greater glory, anywhere from 18 to 16 hours a week may not even be enough. From a pure cost-benefit analysis perspective, assuming you have 4 group members and each member is receiving an equal share of the prize, at a bare minimum, considering $20 an hour, each member should be putting in at least 125 hours over the course of the program to justify the opportunity cost of the time investment. Ultimately, your effort defines your results.
Yeah, and you definitely get out what you put in, don't you?
Absolutely.
And did you guys come up against any challenges with that in your team, or were you all very much on the same sort of trajectory and understanding of each other's own commitments outside the program?
Because we had predefined roles, each of us could go off and work on their individual sections at their own pace. So, for instance, Maitri and Imi's role was more involved later on in the project when we had to get out to the CLCs and we had to go talk to people. Whereas my role was a little bit more involved at the beginning of the project where I had to do research about machine learning and AI and whether this was even possible.
Yeah, so I'm getting from that really teamwork and communication is sort of like the secret sauce, if you like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if you could share one sort of tip for winning, what would that be besides teamwork and communication?
Don't be shit.
We said we wouldn't swear on this.
I think I can pitch in here. So I think the winning tip for us, the winning tip that I'd like to say is that you have to really focus on addressing a real issue in the industry. Because you have to if there's no problem in the first place, any solution can be thought up of, but whether it's actually used, whether it's necessary, that's really important. And I think the best way to go about that is to actually find some data to back up the issue you have identified and then think up multiple ways to tackle it. So just applying that to our our project, we found that we found a lot of surveys that had identified that lawyers said that access to justice was a real issue and that if we use technology, it might be a really good way to deal with that issue. So then we thought, okay, well, that's been identified. This is what we can do to kind of help. And I think that's the kind of angle we took with it. And I think that's probably why our idea was so strong, is because we had identified that connection with the issue and the solution.
And was it hard to get in contact with lawyers to sort of ask them these types of questions?
I'll add on to this. So, and sort of answer your question, Rachel, as well. So, in developing your proposal, I'd say stick to what you know, or stick to an area that genuinely interests you. So for me, Alwyn and Imi, yeah. So because we have already volunteered with CLCs, we've worked with pro bono initiatives, we already had those connections with people who worked in those fields, and we had a sort of more of an understanding of those areas and the issues that we'll face. So at the point getting in touch with lawyers, that wasn't the hard part. I think coming up with the idea was the harder part. So it's really, if you stick with what you know, you given the short time frame of the competition as well, it's probably better to stick with what you like and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, totally. So that's all the questions that I have for you guys today. Thanks so much for answering all of them. I am just going to hand over to our audience now for questions. So if you guys would like to unmute or pop your questions in the chat, feel free to do so now.
I have a question.
Right.
First of all, I must say I'm really happy and proud of how you guys have been sort of referring to your projects and the problems and the answers. It's really amazing to see that you've picked up on the concepts we went through the program, and how you explained what you do in like a 30-second to 1 minute pitch. And it's just amazing to see how you guys have gone from the beginning of the programs to now. I'm curious to know what's going on with Minerva, and if you guys are still pursuing that project. If not, if you're going after other things, it's fine. Just curious to know what's happened with that.
I'm doing machine learning this semester. The reality is AI and machine learning is hard. It's you don't just sit down in an afternoon and smash out a solution. Something like Minerva can take anywhere from 1 or 2 years of development, and that's just from a technical standpoint, and doesn't even consider getting it into CLCs and getting everything to work properly. So it's still on the cards, but it's still at least 2 years out.
Yeah, so where we are right now, we do have a few CLCs on board with our proposal, and we've showed them kind of like a paper prototype of what we wanted to implement, asked whether they would be interested in something like that. Got a lot of positive feedback. So then we did create kind of like a high fidelity prototype they could interact with a little bit. Showed them that again, and then they were happy to try it out when we were ready. So then like most of the visual part is already done. That's what would have been shown at the prototype demonstration last year as well in the final pitch night. And then, yeah, as Richard was saying, just the actual development of the artificial intelligence model, that takes a lot of time. Especially we're trying to get information from like the general public, and they use a very wide vocabulary to discuss the same sort of topics. So trying to get a single machine learning model that can incorporate all of that would take a lot of time. So that's currently where we're up to with it. And
how has it been in terms of, I guess, COVID pushbacks? Have you guys been able to dedicate a little bit more time into formulating this, or no?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm back at uni again, so
sure.
Same old as last year.
Yeah, exam block, it's a killer, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the COVID-19 actually made the semester worse, because suddenly a lot of the work you need to do, especially in my course, in my program, is all on me. So instead of spending 2 or 3 hours at a tutorial, I'd maybe spend 8 hours online researching stuff. So there's just been a lot less time than last semester, in my personal opinion.
So how do you balance that, sort of being a student and also working towards your project? Are you so you sort of park it for a little bit while you develop the skills, and then you'll take on it again, because you're still students and that's your sort of priority right now, I guess?
For my part, which was, like I said, all the front end, like doing the actual searching, showing the results, I'd already had prior experience making those sorts of systems. So then, and I do that as a hobby anyway. So then it would really just be like, oh, I have a couple of hours here, I can work on it. I'd still prioritize my uni assignments, try and get them done first. And then if I can spare a couple of hours afterwards, then I can work on it there. Though, I mean, the story might be a bit different for Richard, because he's currently studying machine learning.
Did any other students have anything to ask just before we wrap up?
Actually, can I ask a question?
You may.
It's interesting because the last program was kind of pretty much out there, like any sort of legal tech, And when I was reading about this program, I feel like there's a deep push towards AI and machine learning. Can any of the coordinators sort of comment on that?
I can take on that. The spirit of the program is still for everyone to explore what's the best technology you can use to sort of affect or improve an aspect of legal practice. The reason we use AI and to mention that is just to make it a bit more clear into what we think are the technologies that are currently being more disruptive. But it can be other things as well. The program is really wide, and I think you mentioned that before. It really relies, and Ryan brought this up. It really relies on each person, where each team takes their idea. It's up to the teams to understand the problem, and like Ivy came to that, and she was great. Like, it's really important that you understand the problem and that it's a problem that's worth solving, and then from there, understanding what's the best technology to solve it. And currently, what we are seeing is that, you know, AI and machine learning, and that's being very disruptive, and it's being used a lot. But it's not restricted to that. It was just used as an example of what type of technologies you could be using. But it's really up to the teams to go find the technology. And look, we have not only, we will have sort of technology students, but also we have technology experts probably around like the universities so that we can tap on. So it can be any technology really.
Yeah, and on that point, I mean, machine learning and data analytics is the big sexy thing, but often what's more practical is something that's like logical design, like a set of logic steps or something, a decision tree. That's something that's easier, probably more realistic and practical in terms of being able to put it together. And a lot of what I've found in looking at what the law firms are doing, a lot of it is based on logic steps, setting out a decision tree that you can input information such that the relevant steps or questions are answered, leading to an output. Input answers to questions, output some new bit of advice or something like that.
And I see we have Patrick here as well. Patrick, did you want to add anything to the conversation here?
Yeah, just to give advice, if I may, that you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew. As Richard said, machine learning is a very complex thing. And in some of the early discussions last year, people were being too ambitious. They wanted to solve the world. And I was certainly encouraging them, you know, in the mentoring to focus on some small problem for which they could find a solution. And you'd be amazed at how simple these solutions can be in law. I've worked in family law, and I found that in practice, lawyers were still doing what they were doing in the 1980s. And by some fairly simple automation and the sort of way that Ryan's talking about, we were able to significantly improve productivity in the law firm I was working on. And there's a million examples of that across the legal profession as a whole.
Yeah, wonderful. So do we have any finalizing comments from anyone? Any questions? Lovely. So the KWM TransformLaw program sounds incredible. I hope that students in our undergrad community, sort of in law and outside law, can get involved who are keen. The registrations close Friday the 7th of August, and with exam block coming up, that might, I don't know, come up sooner than we expect. So keep an eye out for that. In preparation for the program, you can network, meet potential teammates, and talk all things tech, AI, and law on the Transform Law Circle on the virtual village. So Sam, you'll be uploading some of the links for these for the students. So thank you to Ryan, Tomas, Sam, Patrick, Amy, Richard, Mitri, and Alwyn from the Just AI team, and also Felicity for organising this. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.